Is it under oath?
That's correct, lady.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Nell?
My Mr. Good, lady. Captain Mangena, yesterday we dealt with the fact that you examined the door in your office.
That's correct, lady.
We dealt with the fact that you were at the crime scene.
That's correct, lady.
That you had access to post-mortem photographs.
That's correct, lady.
That you also had access to the measurements of the accused in this matter.
That's correct, lady.
Then in paragraph 18, we deal with the opinions and conclusions that you've drawn from everything that you had to look at.
That's correct, lady. I did that.
And your opinion in paragraph 18.1 was what?
My lady, 18.1, my opinion was there's 4 shots fired in the crime scene. And all 4 bullets separated the toilet door into the toilet cubicle.
And one hit somewhere.
But what I could do is, when I do crime scene reconstruction, I relate the body of the deceased with the crime scene. Because if we do the crime scene, we cannot relate the crime scene to the body. We can relate the body to the crime scene because the bullet holes on the crime scene are fixed and they cannot change position, they cannot change the height. Now, if you take a human being can change position, can get to any position, can get to. Now, try different positions to place the deceased in the toilet cubicle. Position could have been when this bullet hits her. Now, I tried the position where she's seated on the toilet seat, but the wound on that is too low for that. Now, came to a conclusion, but most probably the wound on the hip was when she was in a standing position between the door and the toilet seat. And it's most likely to be from bullet hole mark A on the door.
If that is so, the measurements as far as the bullet hole is concerned and the wound on the body was what?
Malay, I looked at the measurements on the bullet and on the bullet door. The measurements were 93.5, and the measurement from the heel of the deceased to the wound on the hip was 93 centimeters. And not forgetting that the trajectory that we could determine was between 5 and 6 degrees down or so.
If that is so, Captain, if bullet hole A caused the wound on the hip, what was the position of the deceased in terms of the door?
In terms of the door, she was standing in front of the door, facing the door.
And in your reconstruction, what then happened?
Now, from this wound, my lady, I looked at the post-mortem report, and I looked at this wound, how this wound was inflicted. Now, according to my consultation, the bullet penetrated and broke the hip bone of the deceased. Now, with this wound, the hip bone is broken completely. It caused her to fall down from this, because this leg will not be able to stand. Now, in this position, it gave the impression that from that position, she fell down. And falling down, she moved backward. Now, that's why I could tell you the importance of that negative effect on crime scene. If she fell down completely to the floor, she would be too low. The wound on the arm and the wound on the head would be too low to be in line with the bullet holes from the door. But if she's positioned on top of the magazine rack, they bring her position that the body and the position of the wound in line with the bullet holes on the floor.
So your opinion is, why is it bullet hole after the infliction of the wound A? What happened to the deceased?
After the infliction of the wound mark and the wound on the hip, she fell down on top of the magazine rack in a seated position, and most probably the shot mark B, or the bullet hole, bullet that penetrated on bullet hole mark B, was shot, and the bullet missed her. Ricochet on bullet hole mark E on the wall, deflected to the bullet hole mark E, F on the other one, and it broke into fragments. Then the fragment that came from this bullet hit her on the back, creating the bruises on her back. And those bullet fragments are the ones which have marked. That's correct. These are the wounds that I'm studying. So that's the first wounds that was inflicted.
And indicated that ricocheted at E, it hit the wall at F, and caused an injury to the deceased, which was visible during the post-mortem. Would you please page to 48 in your report?
That's correct, Malay. And this one, Malay, if you can look at photograph number 31 on page 25 of the report, that's shown on the laser.
Is that the photograph on the screen now that you want to refer to?
That's correct, Malay. The shot missed the ricocheted on the wall at Mark E, then deflected to Mark F on the wall, and broke into fragments. By then, she was in a seated position with her back towards the wall. Deflected there, the fragment came back, hit her at the back, creating death. By then, this bullet has lost a lot of energy and a lot of speed, so it couldn't penetrate the body of the deceased.
Then, and so we've now dealt with bullet hole A, we dealt with bullet hole B.
That's what I mean.
Then there's two more bullet holes.
But the two more bullets, I couldn't determine which one was fired first, which one was fired last. But in this instance, that deceased was most probably seated in a defensive position, whereby it could be something like in this position. How do I determine that? We look at the entrance wound on the side of it, and the exit is on the inside. Now, when you look at the exit of the wound, it's huge, and most of the body tissue from the arm has been transferred to the vest that she was wearing, and the damage that on the vest is from the bullet fragment that perforated the arm, damaged the vest, and caused the bruises on the chest.
So you lined up the entrance wound, the exit wound, and the wounds on the chest.
Wounds on the chest, that's correct, Madam.
And that would indicate that the arm was lifted up.
The arm was lifted up.
Now we've dealt with 3 shots. Then we have one more.
Yes, my lady. If you look at the position that I'm referring to as a defensive position, it's like if you see in this position, a wound on the left hand, just between the two fingers, would have perforated here, but the arm was now in contact with it, and she was a bit facing down. It comes in here, it also penetrated the head of the deceased.
For purposes of the record, I will have to try and put this in words.
Yes.
Captain, you've got both your hands on your head bowed forward, with the left and right hand crossing on top of the head.
That's correct, lady.
That's the best I can do. And that would then also explain the wound to the head.
That's correct, lady. It also explains the wound. On the impact of this bullet, on impact with the skull, the bullet broke into 2 fragments. One fragment penetrated the skull and was removed during post-mortem, and then the other piece of the fragment exited towards the back of the head and mostly was the leg on the bullet. That's the one that hit the wall, creating Mark G on the wall.
When that bullet hit the deceased in the head, where did the head go?
I am of opinion that after this wound was inflicted on the head, she dropped immediately. She was in a seated position on top of the magazine rack, and the dropping key just dropped towards the right hand side, whereby the head ended up on top of the toilet seat, and the upper body was between the toilet seat and the magazine, whereby the lower part of the body was still positioned on top of the magazine.